Hello, welcome back to our creative videos from Seamus Heaney Listen Now Again. You may have watched some of these earlier, such as the origami videos or the one about reading a poem. Today we're going to learn how to write our own poem. So to get ready, I want you to get a sheet of paper and a pen so you'll be all set for the exercises we're going to do today. We're going to be looking at a poem by Seamus Heaney called Carlo. This was a poem that he wrote about his dog in 1999, and he sent it out to friends of his. So that's a really nice way to share poems. Maybe you could get some of your friends to write something and you could swap and read each other's work. We're going to start by thinking about the title of the poem. So the title is the dog's name, Carlo. Do you think that this is a good title? Does it make you want to read the poem? Are you interested to see what it's about? Or do you think that he should have called it something else? I want you to write down 2 or 3 suggestions of different titles for the poem. The title could be to do with what the poem is about, it could be to do with where it was written, or it could be something else entirely, a word that you think could work for a poem about a pet. Sometimes poems have no title at all, so you can think about whether you like that. Personally, I like the titles. I think it gives me an idea of what the poet wanted to tell me. So when you finish coming up with your different titles, we're going to do our first poetry exercise. We're going to write an acrostic poem. So you might have seen these before. These are poems where the first letter of each line spells out a word, and that word is the subject of the poem, which means what the poem is about. So since Seamus Heaney called his poem Carlo, we're going to use the name of your pet for this. So if you don't have your own pet, that's okay. You can use the poem of a favourite teddy or maybe a name of one of your friend's pets. My poem is going to be about my friend's dog Oscar. So what you do is you write the letters down like this, and then you're to think of a word for each letter. So this can be an adjective, which is a describing word, or a verb, which is a doing word. So for mine, I'm going to have old, silly, cuddly, adorable, rascal. And those are words that all really sum up Oscar for me. So you can take your time with this, pause the video and take a time to think about what different words really describe your pet or your toy. And you can write as many of these poems as you like. You can write them about your friends and your family, using their names and thinking of different words that describe them. Now I'm going to read you part of Seamus Heaney's poem Carlo, just so you can hear the kind of things that he wrote about his dog. It's a very long poem, so I'm just going to read you a small section. And when you're listening, I want you to think about the kinds of words that he chose and what this tells you about his dog Carlo. His bark still loud, but not as aggressive. Not that rampant woof off of a dog in his prime, hurling and barreling round the backyard. I undervalued all that at the time, his just being there, like a bolt from the garden, woofing and panting, or worrying plastic bottles or bags. So that's just a short part of the poem, but Heaney tells us a lot about his dog there. So we know that Carlo has a loud bark. We know that he's a very energetic dog, racing around the yard, and that he's a bit of a messer as well. He's playing with plastic bottles or bags. And you can think about the kind of words that Heaney used as well. Hurling and barreling are very active. They give you an idea of a lot of energy and movement in the poem. He also uses something that's called a simile. So this is where you compare one thing to something else. So where he uses this in the poem is when he says that Carlo is like a bolt. So he compares him to a bolt of lightning. So you get the idea of him being really fast and speedy and full of energy. So you can have a think about this for when you're writing your own poem. Maybe you'll want to think of ways that you could describe your pet and what that you could compare them to. I'm going to just read you a little bit from the very end of the poem to talk about something else you can do. So at the end of the poem, Heaney says, even his tail tum-tumming the floor when I come through the door. So this is something called onomatopoeia, which is a very big word, And it means when the sound of a word is like what the word means. So tum-tumming, it gives you the idea of the dog's tail hitting the floor and the sound that that would make. Other examples are woof, so it does sound like a woof when you say it. So you can use words like this throughout your poem as well, and I think it makes it really fun to read out loud. So when you're thinking about what you're going to write in your poem, what I want you to do is really think about the animal or the toy that you're going to be writing about. I want you to think of different words to describe them. So I want you to write 3 verses. You're going to start off with the first one, which will be describing the pet or the toy. What do they look like? What do they feel like? So you could think of using words like big or small, fluffy or scaly, and the different colours that you can see as well. So I really want you to paint a picture with your words and describe what your pet is like. Then in the next one, I want you to describe what they move like or what they sound like. So Heaney spoke about Carlo hurling and barreling around the garden. You can think about whether they're slow or fast, whether they're full of energy, or whether they like to nap and be quiet. And then for your last verse, I want you to think about how you feel. In another part of the poem, Heaney speaks about stroking his dog and how he wished he'd spent more time doing that and being affectionate and loving towards him. So in your poem, you can explore your relationship with your pet or how much you love your favourite toy that you're writing about. So you can use words that will describe the feelings that you have, and it can be good things like that you love them, or it can be that they're annoying sometimes, like Heaney says about Carlo messing with the plastic bottles and bags. So there's a whole range of things you can do in your poem, and it's completely up to you and your imagination as to what you'd like to include. We'd love if you'd leave your poems in the comments below the video so we can read them and share them too. And keep writing, so you can use these ideas to write poems about anything, about your favourite places, about people in your lives, about adventures that you've been on. There's no end to what you can write about. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and good luck with your writing.